everyone, and thank you very much for tuning in. I, of course, am Rotype, and we're back in our Factorio guided series with Mouse Gunner. And today we are going to get a lot more production done. We spent the last few episodes doing science, and we got our power situation squared away, at least for now. The next thing is to get all of these little items that we keep having to build ourselves built off the bus. So, how do you feel about that one? No more pocket building, huh?
Well, I might still do that a little bit, but yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, especially just so we can get other production done, I think is the objective here.
Right. And there's actually always pocket building because inevitably there's something you need and aren't making on the bus or need and the bus is very far away. There's always something.
All right,
So
so
what I'm going to do, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say we did a little bit of tree cutting off camera, but that's, I know that's probably the most exciting part about this game, but
Yes, everyone would love a tree cutting montage. Classical music and the thwap thwap of the axe against the tree trunk. It's wonderful.
no, not classical music. You need something like Rocky or, Eye of the Tiger or something, right?
Or almost maybe some metal, I feel like some hard metal could work. But so the next thing, as I said, is all of these, and I'm using assembling machines as an example. So if you go under a machine, either one or two, it needs iron plate, iron gear wheel, and electronic circuit. And then if you look at assembly machine two, two, the blue one, it's basically the same thing: iron plate, gear wheel, electronic circuit. What else? We've got the mining drill that needs the same thing: iron plate, gear wheel, circuit. And they're just kind of a whole number of these things, mostly under the production tab, that need almost the same thing. I include steam engine in that list. It doesn't need green circuit, but it needs the other things and pipe. Pipe is easy because it's just iron plate through an assembling machine. And we don't even have the technology for a lot of these other things, but there are many, many items that just need kind of a basic set of resources. So I always like to do this in kind of almost a mini bus kind of area, just because you can imagine we're going to need a bunch of assembling machines, but we don't need n number of assembly machines per second. We kind of just need to always have some assembly machines available to go get. And that's pretty much the same with all of these things we're going to be building today. We don't need like a smooth n per second kind of layout. We need more of a build it and have it ready for me when I need to come get it kind of manner. So I abandoned my kind of perfect ratio idea for a just get it made kind of idea. And that saves on space, at least in my head, and it just kind of makes things a little bit easier to do. So the first thing we have to do is make the kind of basics, which, as we saw before, a lot of things needed the gear wheel and a lot of things needed the pipe. And so that'll look just like this. We'll get a gear wheel and a pipe. So this one coming down, and we actually got these off a little bit. This one will be iron. So that coming in, and I don't think we actually need any copper at all, mostly because anything that we're building that needs copper as a raw material is not actually using the copper, it's using the green circuit. So we'll bring that in a minute. But from here, it's pretty much run this in, gears then come out. And the way I like to do it, again, this is by no means the most efficient way, but I bring these out and have just kind of a like mini bus area. And I even sometimes will put, let's see, we can put pipe here actually. And that way we'll have just a bus of gears and pipe. And this is just kind of this stuff, right? So a lot of these things, like I said, they need gears, they need pipe, and then they need, plate and green and whatever else. So you can imagine we'll bring this in, and let's just turn it up here, for example. And we can say, this is a column of, thing machines, right? So this will be electric mining drills, let's say. So we have gears. What do we need next? We need plate and we need green circuits. So the way I like to do it is actually I move this over one, and I like to have plate on the inside because usually all of these things need more plate than anything else. So I want to give it an entire belt of plate. And more than that, I want to put the plate close to it so I can fit a fast inserter. So if it needs a lot of plate really quickly, I can put a fast inserter here and it'll get that quickly, because the long-handed inserters only operate at kind of the slow speed, the normal inserter speed. So you want to put the material that you need more of closer to it so you can get the faster inserter getting a handle on it.
Okay, that
And then
makes
on the other
sense.
side, yeah. So the other side here will run for, again, this is our example here. This needs electric circuit. So this will be the electronic circuits. Now, in the future, I don't believe we have anything that needs it now, but we'll be building things that need steel as well on this line. Things that need, you can imagine, like pipe, gear wheel, iron, and steel, or pipe, gear wheel, green, and steel. So I like to make this second line a half and half green and steel line. That way, again, this one column can kind of just have access to all of these basic materials and build all of the little items. So let's see, we already have the miners being built. We can do, what else do we need here? Steam engines, we can build those so we don't have to build them in our pocket. We can build offshore pumps. And, oh, I don't even know. It's any of these things that I'm looking at on this menu. Some of these need another intermediate material. So for example, right now I'm setting up to build lamps. Now lamps have iron plate, which is on kind of our mini bus, electronic circuits, which are on our mini bus. They also need iron sticks. So I'm just going to make this other one right here, an iron stick factory. And this doesn't need to go on any kind of bus or anything. I'm just going to put it directly into the lamp factory because there's really not much else that needs the iron stick. And we'll do a similar thing here with the assembling machines. We have one machine making gray machines and the next machine making blue, and just a little connection directly into it. Because that way we can just have the same kind of column layout with all of these items that we need. And obviously the next thing is just kind of connecting it all up.
And while he was setting that up, I went ahead and brought a lot of the items to him. So we have the circuits coming over, copper, and plate as he needs it.
Yeah, so the plate will get on this one as well. And I tend to do my splits down on the actual bus, but there are trees in the way, so I'm not going to do that. We can clean that up later. We can make a lovely tree montage like we were just talking about, since there's clearly, apparently, abutting a forest.
Uh-huh.
And
And
this one,
circuits?
yeah, so this one will be half circuits and half steel. We don't need the steel now, and it's way, way off to the left, but for now, we'll just bring the circuits in and just stick it on in a half manner, as we were discussing before, to leave space for the steel in the future. And this will, the bus offloading, I think, we'll cover in kind of its own episode, because it will take a little bit of explaining to do. At least the different methods, the way I like to do it, which is, as always, not necessarily the best way you have to do it, but it's just a lot to cover there. So for now, this is kind of ugly down, but it gets the job done. And as we've said before, that's the name of the game at this point, is just get it done so you can move on to the rest of your base building or whatever you're up to.
Now, I heard you say steel. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to have to go quite a ways away to get that. But I'll start bringing that down because we will need it eventually.
We will need it eventually, yep. And actually, it will be good to get that down here because I think, and this will probably be the next episode, but I think the next thing I want to do is talk about engine units, and engine units need steel. So it'll be good to have it down in this direction. I am out of electric poles. Oh, that's another good thing. Once we have steel down here, we can start building the better electric poles, which will be very, very helpful. Speaking of, I'm going to open up our research queue, and we finished adding green science to our little science bus over here. So I'm going to go ahead and uncheck the crossed off icon on my research queue to tell it that I want to look at red science and green science options, and just kind of go through and pick a few things here that I think will be useful for the next few things. So probably we're going to be talking about trains soon, so I'll queue up a bit of the train stuff, and that will automatically add the engines because you need engines to do trains. So that will be useful for the future. And then just a couple other items, an electric energy distribution, which will give me the large poles I was just talking about. And this mod is very helpful, but sometimes these buttons don't work very well. Actually going to go ahead and try to move electric energy distribution up so we can get it a little bit sooner. There we go. And that will do for now. How you doing with that steel?
It's on its way. I'm just having to do some underground belt just to get it over here. Cleaning up our previous offshoots. Because I think
and a lot of times
the plan is to not interrupt the bust. At least that's what I'm trying to go for.
Yep, that's generally the idea, and it depends on how meticulous you are when building these branches. I sometimes have been known to just draw. I mean, as you can see with this one you're coming up to now, I just draw it, and then later I end up having to go back and clean it up. And it would be better for me to build a habit of always doing the underground belts, but sometimes it's hard to remember the spacing, or you just want to get things working, and it's harder to remember.
I say do now, fix it later, but...
Well, especially when you want a particular resource or something you're building, like say I really want engines. I don't want to spend time fiddling with underground belts if I really need engines. And it's kind of funny to say I really need, because we really don't have any pressing time. You know, it's not like, oh, I need to get this done before something else is going to happen. But that can sometimes happen if you're playing in the normal mode and you have biters turned on and they're attacking and you really need, I don't know, your next factory, which is making ammunition or something, to come online. Sometimes just drag it out. You can fix it later.
Okay, so you need steel on this belt with the circuits, correct?
Correct, on the right side of the belt. It looks like we don't have our inserters or belt being made. So that might be one of the next things we do is, again, go over a layout that I like to use for the belts and inserters. That way, I feel like sometimes the most annoying part of this game is making belts or running out of belts and inserters when you need them. So the next thing I think we'll do is go ahead and get those being made so we don't have to pocket craft those. That's talking about things you want done when you want them done. Having belts and inserters, want those when you want them.
Okay, nobody let him know I'm cutting down trees over here.
Hey, I like cutting down trees. I mean, maybe not in real life, but in this game, cut them all down. Especially when we're in peaceful mode and we don't care about the pollution. Yeah, cut them down.
Now, how are trees good in a normal game as far as pollution is concerned?
So trees have, well, actually every object has a pollution absorption, I don't know, stat characteristic level. And well, actually, I should say every natural object. So assembling machines produce pollution, but a tile of dirt absorbs pollution at some number, some rate. Trees have the highest pollution absorption rate of any other object, tile or space. So if you look, I don't know if you can see it on our map. Well, not really. Maybe a little bit in the future, depending on the forest we cut down. But you can kind of see, if you zoom out a little bit on the map, you'll see our pollution is traveling decently well north, but kind of is curtailed at least a little bit by the trees. Now, that's possibly because we haven't built out that way, but they basically will just kind of serve as a...
Oops.
Buffer is a little strong of a word, but they'll kind of help you out.
Okay, I just did a bad thing. I apologize for that.
I noticed.
You might have to suck up some of that steel or whatever didn't get in the right place.
Yeah,
so what I want to do is go out a little bit further, I take it, like that.
Yeah, so
there we go.
And no, what you could do, but again, by no means is this wrong. You can get away with this. you can bring it in. As long as basically you need this shape into the
Yeah.
middle one.
I think
So
what
you
I
don't
did
necessarily,
is I was down one, so it made like a snake bend.
yeah, you can't, if you go like, let's see, this I think is what you ended up. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was
that
only
was
half looking.
close. I mean, it was something like that.
Yeah, basically, you always want to have that perfect T, at least unless you're doing some other kind of fancier way. Now here we already have most of these being made. I don't have the long-handed inserters to empty them, but from here we'll just kind of put all these things into a box, and eventually the robots will bring us things from the boxes. But for now, just make a whole bunch of steel chests and have them empty into steel chests. That way we'll have all of these items.
Now, what is the advantage over from a steel chest over a wooden chest?
So let's see, I happen to have a wooden chest here, so I can place this right next. You can open the wooden chest and you see, I don't know how many boxes that are, but that much space in the wooden chest.
Oh,
The
I see.
inventory options. The steel chest is a lot bigger. It also has a lot more health. So if you kind of hover over on the right, you'll see the wooden box has 50. The steel box has 200. Now for us, again, that doesn't matter a ton because we're on peaceful. And usually, at least it's good practice to put these behind walls and such. But you can imagine if a biter's attacking, or if for whatever reason you're shooting your own stuff, you can survive more. Your steel chest will survive more. I also like steel chests because they are an ingredient in the logistics chest, which we haven't remotely talked about yet. But logistics chests are boxes that the robots can access. They can't just go get stuff from steel boxes. They have to have a special box, which an ingredient to those special boxes is a steel chest. The wooden chest just kind of is a wooden chest. That's it. It's kind of a dead end product.
All right, now stop me if I'm doing this wrong, but you never did connect plate over to the pipe, so I am going to do that.
Yeah, that's good. I had forgotten, and that's a perfectly valid way to do it. I sometimes do it kind of in from this way, but there's really no real reason that you should do it that way as opposed to the way you did. Now, the one thing I should also talk about, I don't know if we've talked about this yet, is if we open up this miner chest, for example, you'll see we have all of this. We were just talking about all of the space, the difference between a wooden chest and a steel chest. Now, this machine is just going to keep running until it can't output anymore. That's always how the machines work. They run until they can't output anymore. So you can imagine we're going to have like thousands of miners if we just fill up this chest. Now, yep, there you go. Have we talked about this before?
I don't know, but that pretty much all I did was I clicked the red X over in the corner, and then I could draw out the area that I wanted. So if I click the red X again, it's a full slot. If I click it now, I can draw it and limit it as many boxes as I want. I just did one box because I figure we don't need that many electric mining drills. Not, I mean, because what, it's going to stack, what, 50 probably?
Right. And it obviously depends on what item we have. So I believe the engines only stack to 10. So I usually leave maybe 4 boxes open to make 40 of them because I don't know. Sometimes I want to make just a big addition to my power. So it's useful to have 40. But there are a couple other ways of limiting, which we'll definitely talk about more when we get there. Things like robotics and logistics. But for now, yeah, this is, and you're in general always going to want to do this because you can imagine if we're just making thousands of miners, it's going to suck up a lot of the materials and you're not really going to get too many of the rest of your things made. You can see here, you run over here and look, our gear wheels are not making it all the way down the bus because they're getting sucked up by these first couple assembling machines. And if you're making, almost infinite, like thousands and thousands of these items, you're never going to get any assembling machines made because all the gears are just going to be perpetually consumed by the first couple machines up here.
Oops, that's not what I wanted. Oh,
So
it's going right into the light pole or the lamp.
yeah, so, and here's also a good thing to talk about. I'm actually going to disassemble this thing here and this one here because you pretty much never need iron sticks.
Oh,
And you
okay.
almost pretty much never need the assembling machine ones. The
Oh,
assembling
I
machine
see you
twos,
using that for other things. I kind of misread
right.
that.
Yeah, so in here it just goes right into the next thing. And as I said, there's no reason you should ever really need sticks, and there's no reason you should ever really need assembling machine ones because assembling machine twos are just better in almost every way. They consume more power, but they consume it more efficiently, so you get more work done for the power. So it's just better, and you don't want to make these assembly machine ones to just sit around. So I just send them directly into assembly machine twos.
Oh, iron plates are a little low.
Yep. So here's what we were talking about before, where once you kind of kick in your production and all of a sudden you're out of something. So that is going to have to be a task either for in between episodes or the next one, though, because we are at our time for this episode. I thank you all very much for watching. I've been Rotype, he's been Mouse Gunner, and we'll see you next time.